The night air in Los Angeles shimmered with 1,000 neon lights, but inside the crowded auditorium of America's Got Talent, the energy was different, raw, electric, unpredictable. Somewhere backstage, a young man stood quietly in the corner, clutching a worn-out microphone with trembling hands. His name was Miguel Santos, 24 years old, from Manila, Philippines. He wasn't famous. He wasn't rich. But tonight, he was going to sing like the man who had shaped his soul, Elvis Presley. Miguel's black hair was slicked back just like the king's. His outfit, a white suit with silver studs, had been hand-sewn by his mother. Some of the gems were missing, replaced with clear beads from an old dress. His shoes were scuffed, and his belt buckle, shaped like a lightning bolt, had been bought from a thrift shop. But to Miguel, it all shone like gold. He looked at his reflection in the mirror, nervous eyes, trembling lips, and 1,000 memories flooding through his mind. "You ready, Anik?" His mother's voice echoed in his head, a memory from 2 years ago, before she passed away. That night, she had sat by his side as he practiced Elvis songs in their small apartment, her oxygen tank softly hissing beside her bed. She'd smiled weakly and said, "Greater than, when you sing, I see light, Miguel. Promise me, you'll show the world your heart someday." He had promised. And tonight, someday had finally come. The stage manager's voice broke through the noise. "Greater than, next up, Miguel Santos, all the way from the Philippines." Miguel's heart pounded. He stepped toward the glowing stage, the crowd's murmur swelling behind the curtain. He could hear the judges chatting, Simon Cowell, Sofia Vergara, Heidi Klum, and Howie Mandel, their laughter echoing faintly. He took a deep breath, pressed the tiny silver cross on his necklace to his lips, and whispered, "Greater than, for you, Mama. For you, Elvis." The curtain parted. The lights hit him like a wave. Thousands of faces blurred into one massive ocean of expectation. The iconic AGT logo shimmered behind him, and 4 spotlights illuminated the judges' table. Simon leaned forward, squinting slightly, curious but cautious. He'd seen countless Elvis impersonators before, most of them forgettable. Miguel could feel Simon's skepticism before he even spoke. "Greater than, hello," Simon said, his tone neutral but polite. "What's your name, and where are you from?" Miguel's voice shook slightly but carried warmth. "Greater than, my name is Miguel Santos, sir. I'm from the Philippines." "Greater than, the Philippines, huh?" Simon replied, raising an eyebrow. "And what will you be doing for us tonight?" Miguel smiled softly. "Greater than, I'll be singing a song by Elvis Presley, someone who changed my life." A ripple of amusement passed through the audience. Some smiled, others whispered, "The Filipino Elvis, how good could he really be?" Simon's expression turned curious again. "Greater than, all right, Miguel. We've seen a lot of Elvis tributes before, so this better be good." Miguel nodded, closed his eyes, and the band cued the first note. It started with a single strum of the guitar, "Can't Help Falling in Love." But this wasn't the usual upbeat Vegas-style version. It was slow, tender, almost fragile. Miguel's deep, velvety voice poured into the silence like warm honey, gentle but powerful, soaked with emotion. Greater than musical notes, wise men say, only fools rush in, musical notes. The first few words floated through the hall, and the atmosphere changed instantly. The chatter stopped. The laughter faded. Every note seemed to carry a piece of his soul, and of someone he had loved and lost. Simon's eyes widened slightly. There was something different about this boy. Miguel continued, his voice trembling as he reached the chorus. His hands gripped the microphone stand tightly, his knuckles white. "Greater than musical notes, take my hand, take my whole life too, musical notes. Musical notes, for I can't help falling in love with you. Musical notes." As he sang, his mind was no longer in the grand AGT hall. He was back home, standing beside his mother's hospital bed. She was smiling weakly, humming along to the same song as he played his old guitar. The crowd could feel that memory in every word. A tear slipped down his cheek, but he didn't stop. He opened his arms slightly, channeling the spirit of Elvis, the poise, the charisma, the passion, but in his own way. Not an imitation, but a tribute born from love. The camera zoomed in. A woman in the front row wiped her eyes. Heidi Klum placed a hand over her heart. "Simon, just stared, unblinking. By the time Miguel reached the final note, his voice cracked, raw, vulnerable, human. Greater than musical notes, for I can't help falling in love with you. Musical notes. Silence. Then, a single clap. Then another. And suddenly, the entire auditorium erupted. The crowd rose to their feet, cheering, shouting, clapping, whistling. Some people were crying. Others just smiled through their tears. Miguel blinked, overwhelmed. For a second, he thought he was dreaming. Simon Cowell, the man who rarely stood up for anyone, was slowly getting to his feet. He looked right at Miguel and said quietly, "Greater than that was absolutely beautiful." The applause grew louder. Miguel's vision blurred with tears as he whispered, "Thank you." Sophia was next. She leaned forward, beaming. "Greater than, you have such a pure soul. I can feel that you weren't trying to be Elvis, you were feeling Elvis. That was love, that was heart, and I think your mom would be very proud." Heidi added softly, "Greater than, you reminded us why we love music. It's not about perfection, it's about emotion. I could listen to you all night." Howie leaned back, shaking his head in disbelief. "Greater than, you took something we've heard 1,000 times and made it yours." "Miguel, that was a gift." Simon finally took the microphone again. "Greater than, you know," he said, his voice gentler now, "I've seen a lot of Elvis acts in my life. Most of them are caricatures. But you brought back the spirit of Elvis. You sang that song with such honesty, it was like, it wasn't about Elvis anymore. It was about you." He paused, then smiled. "Greater than, that was one of the most emotional performances we've had this season." Miguel's lips quivered as he covered his mouth with his hand, trying not to cry. "Greater than, thank you, sir," he managed to say. "That means everything to me. And then, it happened." Simon looked at the other judges, then reached out and pressed the golden buzzer. The crowd exploded. Gold confetti burst from the ceiling, shimmering down like sunlight. Miguel fell to his knees, sobbing as the golden rain fell over him. His mother's voice echoed in his mind. "Greater than, promise me, you'll show the world your heart someday." He had. He looked up through the tears, the lights blinding, the music swelling, and for the first time in his life, Miguel felt like he belonged somewhere beyond his struggles, beyond his grief, beyond the four walls of his childhood home in Manila. As the confetti continued to fall, Simon walked up on stage, a rare gesture. He placed a hand on Miguel's shoulder and said softly, "Greater than, that wasn't just an audition, that was a moment." Miguel looked up at him, still trembling, and whispered, "Greater than, thank you for believing in me." Simon smiled faintly. "Greater than, you did that all by yourself." The audience kept cheering as the camera zoomed in on Miguel, tears streaming, heart open, bathed in gold. Backstage, one of the crew whispered to another, "Greater than, that's the Filipino Elvis, and tonight, he made history." As the lights dimmed and Miguel walked off stage, he looked up at the giant screen showing a slow-motion replay of the golden confetti falling. He touched the cross around his neck and whispered, "Greater